Well, folks, you did it. You got us to 300,000 subscribers, a tremendous milestone for this humble YouTube channel. And as promised, I have fully shaved off my beard. There is no hair on this chin, as you can see.
It looks better than I thought you were going, and he still might, folks. Don't tempt him. But I thought he was going full mask off, full beard off. And this looks fine. Very Lemmy, I guess.
There are, of course, many of you that would argue that what I have done to my face is not only hideous, but also absolutely does not qualify as shaving off my beard. But I never said anything about shaving off my mustache or my mutton chops, so sorry. A deal is a deal. And you made a deal with the devil. Okay, I am getting word from my wife that it's giving her, quote, the ick. And if I don't do something about this ASAP, she will divorce me and take the dogs. So, okay. I guess the Lemmy Kilmister look is temporary.
How much Jack Daniel's whiskey did you have over your holiday break?
0.
Well, you're not living that Lemmy lifestyle. Live
That's
fast.
probably for the best.
Live fast, die old, though. He did live quite a while. And he lived doing what he loved. Drinking at the Rainbow Bar and Grill.
That's true.
Playing video poker. That could be you.
Anyway, I hope you're all happy, but this is a news show. And there's much news to report today, and it's very appropriate that the universe has rewarded us for hitting 300,000 subs with the very unwelcome return of 2 Hall of Fame members of our Rogues Gallery, who were laying low the past few years for very obvious reasons, but somehow Jacob Wohl and Jack Burkman returned.
Just like Palpatine, they have returned. And at this point, the saga of Wohl and Burkman stretches back several years, though it does feel even longer. Jacob Wohl first landed on everyone's radar in the early years of Trump's presidency with tweets about how everyone at his local liberal coffee shop were constantly whispering about how much they actually secretly loved Trump. Starting in 2018, he teamed up with fellow grifter Jack Burkman for a series of increasingly deranged press conferences, falsely accusing various enemies of Trump of lewd and lascivious behavior, using extremely flimsy and easily disprovable evidence. This began with a press conference accusing Robert Mueller of sex crimes that was attended by many major news outlets, and was followed by similar events focusing on Pete Buttigieg, Elizabeth Warren, Kamala Harris, Adam Schiff, Nancy Pelosi, Ted Cruz, and Anthony Fauci, which were eventually only attended by people who showed up to heckle Wohl and Burkman and sometimes dress up as corn on the cob.
Dress up as corn on the cob, honk a horn.
Honking horns.
Just make a spectacle of this spectacle.
Yeah, the neighbors would show up and say, please, we're just
Stop
trying
it.
to
No
live
more
here.
press conferences, please. But that's not all these guys got up to. At one point, Jacob Wohl teamed up with fellow crank Laura Loomer to travel to Minnesota to investigate Ilhan Omar. And they only succeeded in Jacob filming himself filing an intentionally false police report on camera. Wohl and Burkman also jumped on a popular YouTube trend with their own knockoff version of To Catch a Predator, which crew members claimed was produced in a wildly unprofessional and dangerous manner, even by YouTube predator catching standards, which are very, very low.
And continue to drop below the bar.
Yeah, it's some real sick shit.
Yeah.
It's obviously no one likes a predator, but there's got to be a better way. Oh, and then there was the whole subplot about Jacob Wohl starting a hedge fund as a teenager and stealing a bunch of people's money, one of whom killed themselves. But what Wohl and Burkman are most known for at this point was a robocall scheme ahead of the 2020 election in which they targeted predominantly black neighborhoods with election disinformation, resulting in a heap of criminal and civil legal trouble and fines adding up to over $6 million.
Anyways, in the wake of all that, these 2 clowns have been relatively quiet, but it was inevitable that they'd eventually get back to their old tricks. And this week, a report in Politico revealed Wohl and Burkman's latest grift. A Washington startup pitched as a service to integrate AI into lobbying is covertly run by a pair of well-known far-right conspiracy theorists and convicted felons who are using pseudonyms in their new business, according to 4 former employees, as well as photo and email evidence. LobbyMatic was founded last year by Jacob Wohl, who in 2022 was convicted, along with his longtime associate Jack Burkman, of felony telecom fraud after running a robocall campaign in largely black neighborhoods in several states, telling people not to vote by mail. An Ohio judge ordered them to spend 500 hours registering people to vote, and the Federal Communications Commission fined them $5 million. In his role as a founder and CEO of the new firm, Wohl uses the name Jay Klein, according to the former employees and emails obtained by Politico. Burkman uses the pseudonym Bill Sanders. It's the Bill Sanders show from the former employee.
That's a Bill Sanders handshake for you. And that's a Bill Sanders promise.
Mm-hmm. And that promise, it's going to take you anywhere you want to go.
And look, honestly, compared to their previous antics, ripping off lobbyists with some overhyped AI bullshit, pretty much a victimless crime.
Sure.
So that's kind of refreshing coming from these two.
The best part is they didn't even have to use AI. They could have actually, based on Jacob Wohl's own creative erotic fan fiction of the past, he could just say that this was an AI doing it, and people would go, well, it sucks, but it's also an AI.
It's AI, and you got to stay ahead of the curve on
and
these
it
things.
Definitely knows what it's talking about, so we should run with this.
Does come off a little bit horny, though.
Yeah, this robot is horny.
But yeah, looking at the LobbyMatic website, this seems like a vaguely legit product and company offering various automation tools for making lobbyists' jobs easier using the power of artificial intelligence. Knowing these guys, though, there's, of course, absolutely no way that LobbyMatic works as well as they say it does. And who knows, it might just not work at all. Mm-hmm. But they did a good job presenting it in a way that is sure to appeal to lobbying firms that are convinced that they need AI to stay ahead of the competition, but aren't especially concerned with any of the specifics of that.
I don't want to say they're smart, but in the way that they're pitching this, as we've said time and time again on this show, every company looking to balance their books these days is just putting AI on everything.
Yeah.
So if they approach this by saying, we've got the AI system ready to help lobbyists, people are going to jump on it, regardless of if it works or not. Mm-hmm. Like, might as well get in on the ground floor.
Listen, all the other lobbyists are going to be using AI, so you might as well use AI.
And it's right in the name. It takes our job and it makes it automatic. LobbyMatic.
LobbyMatic.
Yeah.
But back to the article. What's newsworthy is the lengths that Wohl and Burkman went to hide their identities, including from their own employees.
Jacob was out of touch with reality, said one of them.
Yep, that's Jacob.
Working for them, you knew you were never getting the full story and were often left trying to find the truth. If I had to sum up my work experience for them, I would describe them as living with their head in the clouds and in a false reality. The former employee said that they once accompanied Sanders to a house in Arlington that they later learned was owned by Burkman. It was the same house where Burkman and Wohl held press conferences several years ago to air their conspiracy claims. After getting hired by Jay Klein, the employee soon grew suspicious about Wohl and the company after witnessing an apparent hesitation to obtain business licenses and hearing Wohl referred to as Jacob. The person discreetly took a photo of Wohl, did a Google image search, and learned that Klein was actually Wohl.
So that's, AI, they used AI for good in that case. Who the fuck is this weirdo boss of mine who seems to be hiding his identity?
And not running a business in any kind of rational way.
I almost feel jealous. I mostly don't feel jealous, but I almost feel jealous of someone learning about Jacob Wohl in this way.
I guess.
My boss is weird. Something's going on. I'm going to discreetly take a photo of him and upload it to the internet and do some face matching software and see if it... Oh my God. Wait, what? This Wikipedia page just keeps on going and going.
The anxiety-induced rabbit hole that they must have gone down after learning his true identity.
Yeah.
I would have loved to have seen that reaction.
It's so much to dig through. We've been doing it for years.
Yeah, but it's even... So, I don't know. It's hard to tell. But if these employees... They sound like they... At least some morals here because they did report
took a tech job.
But that's the thing is you're like, oh God, I'm employed and doing the bidding of these people.
Yeah.
I should leak this right now so that I don't dig myself even further.
Yeah, and I would hope that, I'm assuming they're hiring the cheapest, youngest, most inexperienced people. I would hope that
off of Craigslist, probably.
For them, this is maybe a wake-up call that, DC really is a swamp. Mm-hmm. And you go to work on K Street in the world of lobbying, this is who you're dealing with. So maybe go back to school, maybe go and find a different career path.
Honestly, the fact that they just handed over their true identities to the press, I think that's more of a resume boost than anything else that they could have done with this company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So since this is Wohl and Burkman we are talking about here, they immediately outed themselves when a reporter called Jack Burkman's number and asked to speak to Bill Sanders.
And you know what? We're going to call Jacob's mom, too, just to double check there, probably. Because he was using his mom's number for the robocall stuff.
I wonder what she's up to.
But this is a comedy movie. They're writing a comedy live by calling it.
All right, let's do some basic reporting. And
Hello, Bill Sanders?
Call the publicly available number for Jack Burkman and ask for Bill Sanders and see what happens.
This is like in a comedy movie where the guy like changes the logos on his office depending on who's coming in. Like switches the nameplate. Yes, this is Bill Sanders.
When Politico called a phone number Burkman listed on lobbying forums and asked if he was Bill Sanders, he asked who was calling and then said, "How can I help you?" After a reporter identified himself, Burkman ended the call. Oh, fuck.
Oh.
Damn it, Jack, you've done it again.
I shouldn't have done that.
So, whoops. And then when the reporter emailed LobbyMatic specifically asking about Wohl and Burkman's involvement and use of pseudonyms, they got back an email reading, "LobbyMatic is a superb AI software with unmatched capabilities and is quickly winning one blue chip customer after another. We deliver massive value to our customers, who include some of the most prestigious lobbying firms and corporate government relations offices in Washington, D.C. So I guess the best denial is just pretending you didn't hear the question and instead using that as an opportunity to reel off a sales pitch.
Would a legitimate company do this?
Yeah. We're so legitimate, we're not even going to dignify that question with a response.
Yeah.
Instead, because we're always closing, always be closing, ABC, we're going to tell you that LobbyMatic is making waves here in DC.
And we got the biggest clients, the best clients that you will never even believe. Sure, did we just take their logos off the internet and put them all over our site? Yeah, but that doesn't mean they're not interested.
So anyway, LobbyMatic did apparently manage to get a few actual clients, if you can believe it.
Toyota spokesperson Zachary Reed said a person from LobbyMatic represented himself as Jay Klein. The company's 3-month trial expired last month, he said. Lantheus spokesperson Lindell said that a former employee for the company initiated a trial subscription, but that Lantheus didn't use the platform and let the trial expire after 3 months. Lennox called the LobbyMatic's website and employees it dealt with nondescript, and it was unaware of their backgrounds. We were intrigued by the advertised potential of LobbyMatic and had a limited number of employees test out the service to track legislation and summarize congressional hearings, Jeff Navin, a co-founder of Boundary Stone Partners, said in a statement. We quickly determined the tool did not work and terminated our contract 2 months ago. At no point did BSP share any company information with LobbyMatic, nor did we know of Wohl or Burkman's affiliation with LobbyMatic.
Okay, so there's your answer. It didn't work.
Yeah.
I'm shocked.
Also,
I can't believe it.
The idea that Wohl and Burkman were running a company that was, even at a basic level, trying to summarize congressional hearings is scary.
Yeah.
Because if any company took whatever they're providing them with at face value,
I would trust ChatGPT more than I would trust Jack Burkman and Jacob Wohl.
And that's saying a lot.
And yeah, that's saying a lot.
And I don't trust ChatGPT.
I don't.
Meanwhile, 404 Media reached out to a bunch of other big-name companies LobbyMatic listed as clients, and none of them have even heard of it.
Yeah.
Which is
They're like, our logo's where?
That was my thing.
Yeah, it was
like
Microsoft, Home Depot, all these big blue chip brands.
Microsoft logo PNG. There's so many products that I've seen with logos all over their site that don't link to anywhere, no references to anything. It is...
My favorite ones, and we've seen this in a lot of the more ridiculous products we've talked about over the years, is when you go to the website, it lists all the media outlets reporting on them.
Yeah.
And you can actually click on the logos and it takes you to the reporting, and it's reporting this look at this fucking piece of shit.
I
love that.
That also
as seen in Wired, and you click on the link and it's like, this product is bad. You shouldn't buy it. But you've seen it.
Also weird products, and then it'll have Kevin from Shark Tank. Oh, I love this product. As seen on Shark Tank.
What did we talk about? We talked about something dumb in the past year.
Trumpy Trout?
No.
There's a lot of dumb stuff we talk about.
It was something more obscure than that. It was something stupid though. And they put our logo on their website under as seen.
Oh.
I can't remember what it was though.
Hey, someone find it because I am interested.
Yeah. People sent it to us on Twitter
cool.
after we published it. But yeah. It was
someone will put it in the comments. It'll be
it was the AI fleshlight.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I mean, they did see it on our show.
As seen on Internet Today.
Yeah.
Anyway, here's just a bit more from Politico demonstrating that classic Wohl Burkman commitment to excellence that we've all come to know and love. The first former employee recounted several occasions in which Wohl would enter the building of a potential client and be asked by security for ID. He would step off to the side and pretend to be on his phone. If confronted, Wohl would say he had forgotten his ID or left it in the car. In one case, the company appears to have made up a high-ranking LobbyMatic employee out of thin air. Pat Smith, who is its VP of Growth. The blonde-haired woman has hundreds of LinkedIn connections, including top lobbyists at PepsiCo, Merck, GM, and United Health Group. But Wohl told 3 of the former employees that the person doesn't exist and that he created her because the best way to get introductions was to use an attractive blonde. Pat Smith has even written stories to promote the company on LinkedIn and Medium. One from October was titled, "An AI arms race is coming to K Street. Will you adapt or be left behind?" Besides the job at LobbyMatic, her profile lists no previous employment history or education.
Look, if it
We need a
wasn't Wohl,
big-titted blonde, a busty blonde.
if it wasn't Wohl and Burkman, this would have actually worked way longer than it had any business to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they're not wrong in their approach. Putting AI on anything will get at least some morons, some lazy morons at a company to invest with a shot in the dark hope that it would work. And yeah, going on LinkedIn and making a fake profile as like a busty blonde woman and writing blog posts is going to get the attention of horny executives at companies.
Yes. I mean, if the product was bad, would this attractive woman be working for them? I think not. But yeah, it has, I mean, listen, this I would say is the most solid grift these guys have gotten up to out of their many grifts.
Sure.
And I think that says less about them than it does about just the massive opportunity and potential for scams that AI has brought into the world. Where even people who are terrible at running scams suddenly can now run a pretty solid scam.
And we haven't seen proof that they were actually using a language model in any way. They could have just been writing a bunch of garbage or like literally downloading the transcripts of congressional meetings, putting it in ChatGPT, and then sending the results. Like, that's probably what they were doing.
Yeah, also...
And on the business side...
I'm pretty sure the congressional record has
summaries?
Transcripts of...
But like, what I'm saying is they probably took that, put it through ChatGPT, then sent the results as if it was some proprietary AI thing. It's not very hard work.
Why is Ted Cruz talking about eating rocks in this congressional testimony?
He says we should all buy Suge Knight or whatever that 5G rock stuff is.
What?
I don't know how the proper pronunciation is, but it was one of the original conspiracies revolving around Dr. Disrespect and other creators and why they were getting shut down because they were trying to block 5G waves or something. This is a COVID era story.
I'll take your word for it.
Thank you.
Anyways, the article also notes that LobbyMatic has stiffed employees on payroll, isn't properly registered as a company in the state database, doesn't have an occupancy permit for its office, and also did some office renovations without a permit for that either. So just classic Wohl Burkman stuff. The boys are truly back at it again.
Hey, look. They're out there doing scams that would go on for a lot longer if it weren't them attached to it. And therefore, they are exposing potential scams that people would otherwise fall for.
Yeah, they're kind of like white hats in that way. They're doing penetration testing.
I feel like the FBI is just letting them get away with a little bit. And then being like, okay, guys, let's see what the world's dumbest criminals can do with AI. And then we'll make a big thing out of it. And that way it dissuades everyone else from doing it.
Yeah, that could make sense because it's like, well, how much harm could they really do? I mean, relatively speaking, not a whole lot. So let's just leave them out there and keep tabs on what they're doing, and that will provide some intel on what the smarter criminals are probably trying to get up to.
Yeah, they physically cannot cannot help themselves from scamming. So if you just keep an eye on them, they're gonna scam.
Yeah, it's good to have those types of people around. That's why a lot of like former hackers start to they get jobs later on working for the banks, being like, okay, if I was gonna hack you, this is what I would do. Yeah. But in this case, they don't even know that's the role they're playing.
They're too stupid to even be the White House.
Just let them run around, and we'll just watch what they do. And okay,
it's a fun conspiracy because the stakes are just so low.
But we've got more news to get to today, including the latest on another notorious conservative grifter from our Grifter Hall of Fame, as well as some updates on how Elon Musk's war against the nation of Brazil is going.
And the war against the country in which he lives, apparently. Because he's posting some weird shit. A rare Elon Musk reversal and deletion happened.
Oh, I must have missed that.
It was the Tucker Carlson Holocaust stuff.
Oh, yeah. Which even... like the conservative media as a whole seems to be like, okay, so...
It was the one line too far for a lot of talking heads.
Like, listen, we've never met Tucker Carlson and have never really enjoyed the stuff he's done.
There are people who fall firmly into the category of alt-right that made statements that were like, look, the Holocaust happened. Like, as soon as that went up, they were just like, guys. Anyways, Elon's got a lot going on. We'll get to him.
But yeah, before we get to all that, we got to let you know that this episode is sponsored by Factor.
Warmer, sunnier days, they're definitely here. We are roasting, even in this room with some AC on. I am sweating still.
Yeah.
You need to stay fueled up, though, and you can fuel up with Factor's no prep, no mess meals. Meet your wellness goals in the final stretch of summer thanks to the menu of chef-crafted meals with options like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, and Keto. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are dietitian approved and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. So no matter how busy you are, you'll always have time to enjoy nutritious, great-tasting meals. Make today the day that you kickstart a new, healthy routine. What are you waiting for?
With 35 different meals and more than 60 add-ons to choose from every week, you'll always have new flavors to explore. Crush your wellness goals with dietitian-approved meals and ingredients that you can trust. Make your day delicious. From breakfast to dessert, stay fueled with easy, nutritious options. Treat yourself to restaurant-quality meals that feature premium ingredients like filet mignon, shrimp, and blackened salmon. Keep kitchen time to a minimum. Factor meals are ready in 2 minutes. No shopping, prepping, cooking, or cleaning up.
Enjoy effortless support for your lifestyle. Choose from 6 menu preferences to help manage calories, maximize protein intake, avoid meat, or simply eat well balanced. I like to switch it up. I get some vegan, some meat stuff. Kind of a monster, but...
You're a dabbler.
Yeah, I dabble. And it does feel good when I just have the vegan stuff.
Factor lets you dabble.
Head to factormeals.com/Newsday50 and use our code Newsday50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. That is code Newsday50 at factormeals.com/Newsday50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active.
And this episode is sponsored by Ground News. Nowadays, it's easier than ever to follow the news, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're getting an objective look at what's actually going on in the world. That's especially true if you're mostly getting your news on social media, where we're all basically in our own algorithmic filter bubbles, seeing news that's potentially lacking in context, poorly sourced, or designed primarily to get clicks. Getting an accurate picture of the news landscape can seem impossible, but Ground News makes it easy.
Ground News was created by a former NASA engineer to empower readers to navigate our complex media landscape. It gathers related articles from more than 50,000 sources around the world in one place so you can compare how different outlets cover the same story, and you can see context about the news sources. Do they have a political bias? How reliable are the reporting practices? Who owns them? All backed by ratings from 3 independent news monitoring organizations. For any news story, you get to see basically all the coverage it's getting all in one place, with a breakdown of how many sources are covering it, and whether it's something that's being disproportionately covered by the left or the right.
For example, here we have a recent story about those astronauts stuck up in space. And it's mostly being covered by left-leaning and centrist outlets, which focus more on NASA's risk management strategies, while the right-leaning outlets are a bit more concerned about politicizing this as yet another woke DEI disaster. Having bias and factuality ratings is great for making sure that you are getting the facts, but it's also great for getting a sense of what the less reputable news sources are saying, which is also important. They've even got a blind spot feed for news stories that you probably haven't heard anything about if you're only following news sources from one side of the political spectrum.
We obviously read a lot of news, so Ground News is the perfect sponsor for us because it helps us access different viewpoints not just from across the political spectrum, but also around the world, and see discrepancies in how certain topics are covered or just not covered at all. There's no perfect news source, but with Ground News, media literacy is easier than ever. Go to ground.news/internet today to give it a try. If you sign up through our link, you'll get 40% off the Vantage plan, which is what we use to get unlimited access to all features. We think Ground News is doing important work, and we hope you check them out. All right, back to the news now, and in addition to Jacob Wohl and Jack Burkman once again making fools of themselves, we've got an exciting update on another conservative grifter.
Mr. President.
The newly clean-shaven, what is it about people who are shaving their beards?
What is it about psychos cutting off their iconic facial hair?
The newly clean-shaven Mike Lindell has taken a cue from Trump and decided to take FrankSpeech public on the stock market.
What? Okay.
And like with Trump, it is not going well. I don't know who the exact Twitter handle was, but the best joke that I saw was the Trump stock finally dipped below 18, and someone was like, you have to keep this away from Matt Gaetz now.
That's good, yeah.
So for starters, about FrankSpeech, you may be wondering, just what is FrankSpeech?
Yeah.
If you haven't been watching this show for years, you might not know.
Even we talked about this when it first, not even existed, but when it became a concept that he would talk about. It took another year for it to even become a thing.
It was what he was trying to do.
It was pre-Truth Social.
Pre-Truth Social's Truth Social, and it just turned into a platform that hosted videos that he made and that people he liked made.
Him and
Diamond and
other
Silk.
fellow cranks.
Yes. And he would do marathon live streams to it. So it was basically a video streaming site that Lindell created a few years back along with Frank Social, which it was a completely separate social network.
Apparently, even Mike Lindell only has 300 followers on Frank Social.
Well, you got to start somewhere. This is a real grassroots effort.
Great. They should have called it Pillow Talk.
Well, he doesn't have the creative genius that you do. So even after a few years in operation, both sites, they do not appear to have any of the status and popularity that you would expect from a company trading on the stock exchange. In fact, it's probably costing him a lot of money just to host the videos, even though no one's watching.
Yeah, I'm sure he is losing money with every click.
Although it does appear that he's done it looks like he's done a creative embed where someone else is hosting it and it's just appearing with no...
Oh, maybe.
Anyways, it's not trading on the New York Stock Exchange or the NASDAQ, which is what most people would consider the stock market, but it is trading on the over-the-counter or OTC markets, which is mostly home to risky penny stocks that don't meet the requirements to be traded on the stock exchanges. So already sounding like a great investment, but there's more, and here's raw story.
Mike Lindell is trying to raise some cash for his FrankSpeech social media platform by making it a publicly traded stock. But former Daily Beast journalist Zachary Patrizio says it's not going to plan so far. Writing on Twitter, Patrizio contends that MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell's attempted FrankSpeech stock rollout has been a total disaster, which he says started with him telling his followers the incorrect ticker for the penny stock that trades OTC. Confused MAGA followers who couldn't find it on Robinhood got mad at Lindell, he reported. And that's not all. Patrizio also notes that Lindell's merger partner, a media holding company called Incapta Inc., has an accumulated deficit of nearly $150 million. And to cap it all off, Patrizio writes, it's clear that Lindell has been struggling with the concept of New York Stock Exchange versus OTC markets. Oversimplification, but OTC markets are like a flea market compared to the New York Stock Exchange being a department store. At a flea market, more potential for fake merchandise, i.e. pump and dump schemes.
So it's pretty cool that at a time when the pump and dump model has almost entirely shifted to crypto, Mike Lindell is out there doing things the old-fashioned way. But while we're also on the topic, we should check in on how that Trump stock is doing. And like I said, it's not doing great.
Not so good. And time is running out.
Yeah, I believe that I think he has he has to stay in for longer. So yeah.
Well, it's all in this.
Okay, here's CNBC. The share price of Trump Media, whose majority shareholder is former President Donald Trump, fell Tuesday to the lowest level seen since the Truth Social parent company began public trading in March following a merger. DJT shares dropped to $17.89 per share around midday Tuesday. The stock's prior low was set on August 28th when it hit $19.38 per share. The stock price was down roughly 77% from its high of $79.38 per share on March 26th, following Trump Media's merger with a publicly traded special purpose acquisition company.
Trump Media's latest drop comes just weeks before Trump, who owns almost 59% of DJT's outstanding shares, and other company executives, can cash in on the failing stock. Trump's stake was worth over $2 billion as of Tuesday. Trump and other major stockholders are currently prohibited from selling their shares due to a lockup agreement, which is set to expire on September 25th. But that deadline could get moved up to as early as September 20th. If the stock price remains above $12 per share for 20 trading days within the 30 trading day period that started last Friday. So we are just weeks away from a very funny thing potentially happening. Trump selling off a ton of his own stock would provide some much-needed funds for the final weeks of the campaign.
Yeah.
But it would also surely lead to a larger sell-off that leaves his biggest and most gullible fans stuck holding the bag and would spell doom for Truth Social's future. But then again, Trump doesn't really need Truth Social anymore.
No, he doesn't.
Now that he's got Elon over in the cuck chair. It's redundant.
It is kind of the point. This is a piggy bank that he gets to cash in once again off of his most loyal
There is
followers.
no reason long-term
No.
for Truth Social to continue existing.
No, this is the most it's ever going to be worth whenever he sells it.
Yeah.
So he needs to just sell it, I guess. And that he needs the money very, very badly. So
he
he's
owes
got
a lot
his
of people
VP
a lot
out
of
there
money.
begging for money from Peter Thiel. So
Yeah.
it's getting bad. So I would assume that he's going to liquidate very quickly.
Well, that should be fun. Mm-hmm. And speaking of Elon, though, it's time to talk about Elon's big fight with the Brazilian government.
So we covered the lead up to this a bit last week, but basically a Brazilian judge has been demanding the removal of a handful of Twitter accounts for months on the basis that they're spreading disinformation. And Elon has refused to comply on free speech grounds. Now, it's easy to see Elon as the good guy here, but he's previously complied with similar requests from governments like India, Turkey, and Germany. So his free speech principles aren't as rock solid as he would have you believe. Plus, whether you like it or not, doing business in countries around the world necessarily entails following local regulations. If that's a problem, you're free to not conduct business in those places. But it is a pretty questionable business move when Brazil is your third largest market. Anyways, last Thursday, Brazil officially banned Twitter over its failure to comply, and Musk framed this as a rogue activist judge manipulating the law as part of a personal crusade against Elon Musk. Except, well, here's The Verge.
A panel of 5 Brazilian Supreme Court justices voted on Monday to uphold a decision requiring the National Telecommunications Agency, Anatel, to limit access to X, the service formerly known as Twitter. Justice Alexander de Moraes issued the ban on Friday in response to X owner Elon Musk's refusal to comply with court orders to block certain accounts and to identify a legal representative in the country. 4 other justices have now backed the decision. Poder 360 and O Globo report that 3 justices, Cristiano Zanin, Flavio Dino, and Carmen Lucia, fully supported de Moraes' ruling, while a 4th, Luis Fuchs, noted reservations about a fine for people who circumvent the ban with a VPN, saying only people who post criminal messages like those expressing Nazism or fascism should be fined.
Okay, so it sounds like this is actually fully in line with Brazilian law and not just some lone judge with an axe to grind. Meanwhile, though, Elon Musk also owns an ISP that operates in Brazil, Starlink. And Starlink was refusing to block access to Twitter in Brazil unless the government unfroze their assets down there. And the reason those assets were frozen in the first place is that Twitter still owes the Brazilian government millions of dollars in fines even after being banned. And since Starlink is another Elon Musk company, their assets were frozen until Twitter pays its fines. So it's a standoff. And since Starlink provides internet via satellite, the Brazilian government can't just shut them down the way they could with a traditional ISP. Starlink does, however, rely on relay stations on the ground to operate properly. And with Brazil threatening to shut those down, by Wednesday, Starlink had relented and agreed to block Twitter while initiating legal proceedings to get its assets down there unfrozen.
Damn.
Aw, geez.
Okay, well, now that you put it that way.
And I want, it was the third biggest country represented on the platform. And I would say, especially in active users, it has been noticeable.
Yeah.
Noticeable. A drop in content.
Yeah.
All the Stan accounts suddenly silenced.
Yeah.
A real shame.
So yeah, doesn't really sound like Twitter is coming back to Brazil anytime soon, which is bad news for the country's 40 million users. Mm-hmm. Many have, of course, turned to VPNs, despite the government threatening fines for using VPNs to access Twitter. But it sounds like most people are just signing up for Threads, Blue Sky, and Mastodon, which each of those platforms has reported a huge uptick in new signups. So it's been great for them.
Blue Sky has been sailing. I went back on for the first time in a long time this weekend.
It's been a long time since I went on.
Very active.
But yeah, they got like...
Threads is fucking awful.
Yeah.
Threads is the worst. I think Threads might be worse than Twitter.
I only go on there when I'm scrolling on Instagram, and they're constantly saying, hey, go check this out, go look at this post on Threads. And their AI or whatever is really good at picking posts where I'm like, yeah, I am kind of curious what that post says.
It's all rage bait.
Yeah.
It's insane. It's crazy.
But Blue Sky, they added like 500,000 users in like a day on Monday, which is pretty big for, I think their total number of users maybe like 15 or 20 million.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, back on Twitter, the sudden loss of all of the platform's Brazilian accounts has unexpectedly revealed that apparently just a ton of popular Stan accounts for musicians and actors were being run by humble Brazilian users. Mm-hmm. You would have never known, but now you do. And yeah, this is a problem not just for the Stans left behind, much like in the movie Left Behind, but also for the stars themselves, as shown by Cardi B's alarmed realization that a bunch of her fan pages were shutting down. No, please. So yeah, this may end up being more than just a Brazilian exodus to other platforms if the other Stans decide to follow in these Stans' footsteps.
And why wouldn't they? They've already been shown that Elon will throw them away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you don't discount the Stans. That's a lot of people use Twitter 12 hours a day just to stan.
Yep.
Just to stan and to push back on the haters.
And regardless of what you think about the artist they support or whatever, if it's K-pop, Taylor Swift, whatever, it doesn't matter. They, at a base level, are creating content for the platform.
Yeah.
For Elon Musk for free and driving views to his platform, and he is just like, see you later, bye.
So yeah, I mean, if the Brazilian Stan community moving to like Blue Sky or whatever, if that triggers a mass exodus of the Stans to Blue Sky, that would be bad. Mm-hmm. That'd be much bigger than just losing Brazil. But it might be, some brave soul will have to test this on a daily basis. Once a day, you tweet like, fuck BTS, and just see what happens.
Yeah.
And measure whether the responses, the engagement, goes down or goes up. I'm going to guess it goes down.
Probably. Anyways, that's it for today's episode. We will be back for some news dumping.
And there's a lot. There was some big news that dropped like right before we came in here that is so funny. And we will get to that tomorrow. But
yeah, it is. Feels pretty good.
Yeah. It's good content, folks.
Yeah, it is. What a week. Anyways, that's it for today's episode. We'll be back for more tomorrow. In the meantime, if you haven't already, we have 2 videos that went up during the holiday break. If you haven't seen those already, please watch them. And we will be back soon. Please like the video. It's always tough to come back after a break. You know that.
Like the video.
We talk about it.
And let's get to 400,000. I'll cut off my nose. No, I won't.
Just to spite his face.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll have to think about it. We got time, I think. But
Elliot's going to get a tattoo.
A face tattoo.
A face tattoo.
It's going to say liar.
Leave a comment for engagement. We appreciate it. Subscribe if you're not already. And leave a like. And watch those videos. We'll be back soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.